Oh, hello. I was muted. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live feed update for today, not tomorrow. I apologize for the audio problem. Let's hold on. Ready? We're just going to restart. All right. Nobody will know. We're just going to pretend like there were no wall yellers interrupting this. Ready? Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 23rd. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I am here today on my own to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 24 live feeds. It was day 48 in the house, and there's not much to talk about. This is going to be a quick one, especially because there's nobody else to really bounce off of here. I can maybe answer some questions in the chat if we want to, but basically, we still have no outside feeds. So nothing from that. But we can briefly talk about some of the things that were happening inside. There are some rumors for what is happening outside. We can discuss those rumors if we want as well. But let's first talk about what's happening inside. Of course, Michael has nominated Jasmine and Monty. Brittany won the veto. Brittany is going to not use the veto here today. And really no game talk for the most part throughout the day. There's some conversations about crushes and Joseph's crush on somebody that's unavailable and relationships and like who from last season's cast would be with some people from this season's cast. It's a bunch of nonsense. Brittany is going to eventually talk to Michael, finally get some game talk with them later in the night. Now, if you can recall, the only real bit of intrigue from inside is that Monty has been pitching to Taylor that they should take a shot at Michael at 5, that Michael cannot be allowed to get too close to the end. And then Taylor told Brittany about it. And we've been wondering, since the feeds were down so much, if Brittany has talked to Michael about this conversation yet. And I think that this conversation that happens on day 48 seems to imply that they have not had that conversation yet. Because Brittany's first going to bring up to Michael, hey, and again, this is one of their, like, we talk about various things at different points, so bear with me. But she's going to start the conversation with Michael saying, hey, do you think Jasmine deserves a straightforward conversation about why she's going home? Obviously, she's leaving. She's been on her best behavior. She's really not been as bad as she has been in the past. And it's not like she has anybody to run and go tell anything to anybody here, right? Like, she's going to be evicted. It's just us in the house. And Michael's fine with it. It's probably better for jury management. So sure, why not? They also talk about their position between Kyle and Monty and how they are basically in the middle between the two of them, which is great for them. It's what they wanted. But it's still going to be tricky, right? They still need to, they really need to make sure that Kyle makes it through, because he is their buffer. If Kyle is gone, if he leaves and doesn't come back, and Joseph does come back, now we do have this final 5 with Joseph, which is perfect for Taylor, but really bad for them, because Monty and Joseph will probably take a shot at me, says Michael. And the way he phrased it, again, implies to me that he hasn't been told specifically by Brittany that, yes, that is exactly what is going to happen. He's just assuming it's going to happen. Brittany's later going to talk to Taylor about this again and say, I think Michael assumes that this is what's going to happen. So again, it implies to me Brittany, I don't think, has told Michael that these conversations are happening right now, this week. So keep that in mind. It's possible that she eventually does have those conversations, and that because of that, they do have their own conversation about what they should do with Monty, especially given what happens in this conversation. So Brittany does agree with Michael's proposition. He says that, or she says, the problem is, I think Kyle is a sinking ship. And she worries what might happen now that he has a week to think about them bonding with Monty and Taylor and him bonding with his own people outside. And she's right to be concerned about this. Prior to the wall yeller, that's exactly where things were going. Now, rumors abound that might not be where things are going anymore, but it's it would have been a pretty good read. Michael says worst case scenario is that they don't make a move on Monty and then Kyle leaves on the other side, because are Monty and Joseph really going to take a shot at Turner before us, especially given all this stuff about the core of the alliance? I'm not sure, thinks Michael. And honestly, I don't think they will. I don't think they'll take a shot at Turner before Michael. I really don't. It would be pretty bad for them if that happened. They wonder if they should say anything that Kyle has talked to them about, in regards to the core of the leftovers, or, wanting to take a shot, because he might be able to rat them out next week if he's still in the game. And they're also concerned about this core thing in the leftovers, because the way that Monty has been talking about Kyle kind of makes it clear that he was working very closely with him. The way that Monty's been like, man, I really thought I was cool with him. I've never seen him talk about this, talk in this way before. It really seems to imply to them that like this core thing that Kyle is talking about was real, and that Monty was really close with Kyle. So that is concerning. Not necessarily that they think that Monty and Kyle will get back together, but that thing exists, and that, again, that perhaps Turner is not going to be a target ahead of them, and they're basically out at 7, or Michael would basically be out at 7 or something along those lines. So if Kyle is gone, their best bet, they think maybe we can pull in Alyssa. Maybe it's possible we can get to Turner. Who knows? But it's not a good scenario. But in what world would Kyle leave? There's no scenario that makes sense for Kyle to go. It's such a niche outcome. We shouldn't need to be too concerned about it. It would take outside forces to create such a scenario. So surely that's not what's going on. In almost all scenarios, Joseph is gone. They talk again about going to the final 3 with Taylor, unless they're able to get Terrence there, because if they are able to get Terrence there, then, that's an easy win. Now, this is interesting to me, right? Because Michael and Brittany have talked about getting Terrence to the end a lot. Obviously, Michael is really hoping to get Terrence to the end. But I don't think Brittany wants Terrence to get to the end at all. I mean, Terrence getting to the end is great for Michael, because it does guarantee that Brittany and Michael get to the final 2 together. And I think she's happy for that to happen as well. But I think she would prefer for Taylor to be there. And if Taylor wins, oops, now I actually have a chance of winning the game. Versus, a locked in final 2 with Michael, which she, again, is fine with, but I think she would still at least prefer to leave that option open on the other side of things. So we'll see what happens there. So Taylor is going to talk with Monty again, and she asks him, have you talked to Brittany about what we've talked about with regard to taking Michael out of the game? And he says, no. Why would I do that? Why would I talk to Brittany about this? I feel like that's a bad idea. Don't feel like I'm there yet with her. And Taylor says, oh, no, Mike, Monty, don't worry about it. You've both talked about the same thing. You've both talked to me about like how, you both understand that Michael needs to go. I feel like it would be a good idea for the 2 of you to get on the same page. And Monty's like, you really think she'd be comfortable with that? Taylor's like, yes. Like, all right. I mean, okay. Well, one thing I've been thinking, just quick aside, when you get to final six, does everyone get to play in the veto? She goes, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. All right, never mind. He says, well, it's just the only thing is that Michael's basically won everything he's competed in. The only times he's lost were like the luck thing in the invitation when he misheard the rules with the Turner situation when Turner won. He wins everything. And Taylor's like, let's not get away from the conversation. I'm telling you, you don't have to be afraid of this conversation with Brittany. I'm telling you. And he says, you're right. Okay, there's going to be time this week. I feel like this is probably the best time to do it. Sometime this week, I can talk to Brittany. I'm just worried she'll tell Michael. And Taylor says, you don't need to be worried about that. He goes, okay. He says, anyway, the thing that I was talking about is that I'm worried that, basically you get to a point where everyone is always allowed to compete in the veto. And then he might just then we just have to hope that there's a spot where we're able to beat him. So, maybe we don't even want Michael to get to 5, And it's really just out of respect, like what could he say? I like the guy, he's just too good at these things. I'm surprised he hasn't thrown more competitions. I was like, well, yeah, because he was helping the leftovers. It's like, yeah, I guess so. So that's kind of the end of their strategic conversation. But basically, the point here is that Taylor is pushing Monty to talk to Brittany specifically about taking Michael out, which obviously sounds not great. But at the same time, Taylor's ratting him out anyway, so he might as well, you know what I mean? The fact that Monty is only talking to Taylor about this and Taylor's telling Brittany anyway, it just makes it worse for Monty that he's not talking to Brittany about it. Makes it more likely, in my opinion, that Brittany rats it out to Michael eventually. Whereas if Monty went to Brittany about it, maybe she would feel a little more comfortable with the fact that he's at least talking to her. Does that make sense? Because I feel like it's a little bit backwards, but given that Taylor is spoilers, Taylor's about to tell Brittany about this conversation again. Yeah. Anyway, they also go on to talk about the week 1 situation. Monty brings it up again, and they really just rehash the whole thing. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but basically, as Monty's describing the situation, Taylor's like, "Oh yeah, you were literally the first person I talked game to." And he's like, oh my God, I feel like such a dickhead. Oh. And they talk through it some more. And they go through it. Like Paloma was doing all of this and she was doing all of this and he can't believe he fell for it. He's like, I want to punch my own face right now, to be honest with you. I feel so bad. So Monty continuing to apologize and admit fault here in these situations. I still haven't really gone over some of the more sensitive topics around things that were discussed at the time, but definitely it definitely feels bad and is apologizing as much as possible. So then Taylor is going to talk to Brittany, and first of all, they agree next week's target. Absolutely, it's going to be either Terrence or Kyle. If Kyle's gone, it's Terrence. If Kyle's still there, it's Kyle. Good thing nobody's convincing Terrence to take out Kyle, right? Brittany proposes that they tell Jasmine that she's leaving. Taylor agrees. And then Taylor tells Brittany about Monty pitching to her again that Michael needs to go. She's like, oh, he was just talking to me about it. I think the two of you should talk. I was telling him that he should talk to you, but I don't think he feels comfortable talking to you yet, Brittany. Ah! he was telling me that how Michael needs to go, and there's basically, he was like, there's nothing Michael could say to stop that based on his resume. Like, he just needs to go. And so, hopefully they can get Joseph on board, and this is just a much better final three for us, Brittany. And Brittany's like, well, I mean, I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world if we go to final three with Michael. Like, I don't think it's such a shoo-in that we can't beat him. And Taylor's like, yeah. And Brittany's like, and so here's the thing. I think, again, here's my theory on the day is I don't think Brittany has talked to Michael about these conversations yet. I think the first time they had this conversation, she felt fine with it. I think this time she's starting to feel a little less comfortable because she says this. She says, I don't think he's such a shoo-in that we can't beat him at final three. She's like we were talking about this as like a backup plan, but now it seems like you want this to be the primary plan. I still feel like final three with Michael should be the primary plan. And I think she's worried that that's not becoming the case. And then number two, I think especially based on her conversation with Michael earlier about what happens if Kyle leaves, what happens if like we don't have that buffer, what happens if Joseph is still in the game. It's finally starting to get into her head. Wait a minute. What if Joseph doesn't leave on the other side? And this really does become a problem. She says specifically to Taylor, and this makes me think she may have a conversation with Michael later about this. I'm not sure. I don't know why she hasn't told him yet, so it's possible she won't. But she asks Taylor, wait, you don't think Monty would come for any of us three, like no matter who comes through the door, right? And Taylor says no. This tells me that Brittany is starting to be concerned. Okay, if Kyle does leave on the other side and Joseph does come through that door, and Monty is talking about how Michael needs to go no matter what he says, no matter what he does, is it possible that Monty just straight up starts targeting Michael like ASAP? She basically asks that question of Taylor. Taylor says, no, I don't think he would do that. But she's definitely thinking about that possibility. So again, she hasn't had the conversation with Michael yet. She doesn't really have an opportunity to privately talk with him the rest of the night. So who knows if this conversation will happen. And even if it does, it's such a big leap. They don't know what's happening on the other side. And as they said, they have no reason to believe that Kyle would leave on the other side. So it's probably not worth going in that route just to fend off a small sliver of a possibility. But perhaps expect more conversations about this in the future. We'll see. Michael, Brittany, Monty, and Taylor are going to get together later in the night and discuss again the option of telling Jasmine that she's leaving ahead of time. Monty is fine with it, and they're all totally kind of down for telling Jasmine. So they plan to tell Jasmine about the fact that she is leaving. They kind of go back and forth on what details to say and like who should be involved and all that. But we will eventually probably see what happens here. They're thinking that the eviction might be early because of just the weird circumstances. So they're thinking they might need to tell her earlier, but that's kind of where they stand. So that's the inside. Now, there was a brief flash of feeds that speculation, abounded based on those. There's really nothing there that I would say is concrete enough to even remotely speculate on. But there are rumors. Okay, hold on. It says, you guys, you really love, hold on, ready? We're going outside. It's every day. Just eventually in the chat, I just see a wall of transition music. Okay. So no reason to really think anything of the flash, basically, that we get outside, but there are rumors Rumors abound, and the reason I'm discussing rumors is that, to be clear, the last at least 2 seasons in the U.S. Let's be clear, there have been no accurate spoilers in the last 2 seasons of Big Brother US. At least 2 seasons. I don't remember when spoiler goes. Since or not spoiler, Vegas. Since Vegas, we have not had any accurate spoilers. Since then. However, this season, somebody on production has got a little bit of a leaky faucet going on, very clearly, and has started to give out some information that has proven to be accurate. So, and this has come from multiple different places. I don't know if this person is giving out information to multiple different outlets or what the situation is, but there is reason to believe that rumors could be true, and rumor has it that Terrence may have used the veto on Turner and put Kyle up on the block as his replacement. So, is this true? We don't know for sure, but it is, I do think we have reason to believe that it certainly might be true. So, what does this mean? I've seen speculation that maybe this was all a part of Kyle's plan. I would say I very, very much doubt that. I'd be willing to put a big bet on the fact that there's zero scenarios where Kyle ever consents to going up on the block in this spot. So this means that it was against it would have been against Kyle's consent to go up on the block, and that to me implies that if you're going to use the veto and you're going to put Kyle up on the block, then you're probably going to send him home. You probably have that in mind. So it is very possible here that that Kyle is on his way out the door. Obviously, this would be specifically because of the wall yeller, and this is probably why the feeds have been down so much, because production is panicking that oh my god, we really screwed up. We let the wall yeller it's impact things for the first, and this would be if Kyle leaves, this would be the first time that an outside influence has actually impacted the game to the point that they have sent somebody home. In over 20 years, that's quite the impact. I can't imagine production is pleased if that is the case. And I have to imagine that they are very concerned about this. How does this impact their episode? What do they do about it? I mean, this has been an issue for over a decade. The wall yeller problem. I can't believe that they thought that they could stick people outside and not have this be an issue. I guess because specifically, like, they've always been able to just squash it in the past, and it usually backfires. They probably felt like whatever. But I think the problem this time is that they can't put them inside. Like, they can't just like stick them inside and then control the narrative. They're stuck outside. So, I think things are different here. So, we'll see. But that's kind of that's the rumor. That's what's happening here. If I were to guess, I would say that I think this is probably true. Now, the thing you have to make sure to do when it comes to these spoiler accounts and like all these rumors and stuff, do not believe anything that is not verifiable. Meaning, okay, there's a claim that Kyle is up on the block. We're going to find that out on Wednesday. Okay, that's fine. If there's a claim about something that we would never know the truth to, and we just have to trust the word of a person, we know from experience that back when Vegas was doing this, they were saying things that ended up being verifiably false, even though they had other things that were true. So you just be careful about accepting rumors, and don't take this as a fact here that obviously we don't know until we see it on the episode. But it is very, very possible here that that we do have Kyle on the block due to the wall yeller. So I mean that's what we've got. There's really not much more to talk about there, because we don't even know for sure that it's true, or even specifically like what the purpose is. What's interesting about this is that like this is something even. Okay, I think what's interesting about this is that all wall yellers in the past, and like banner planes, all of it, they've all failed. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure, based on my memory, they've all been trying to tell the truth, right? They've all been trying to out a person that is lying. Now, I think that theoretically the wall yeller this time is could also be telling the truth, but basically, the reason this might have worked is it convinced Terrence that Kyle was lying, but Kyle wasn't lying to Terrence. So what would be interesting is that the first time it ever actually works, it's actually a lie. It's actually tricking a house guest into doing something that's suboptimal for their game, which would be interesting. But yeah, anyway, I think that's about what we got. Any questions before we wrap up here? I think that all we know about the wall yeller is that they probably said something along the lines of Kyle is a liar, save Joseph. But the feeds have also been down for a long time, and I know there were plans for more wall yelling. It's possible that there were more wall yells that may have also influenced the situation beyond just the first one, right? So it's possible that like, despite their attempts to keep it out, more wall yell attempts happened, and that's what convinced Terrence to eventually use the veto. So we don't know exactly what was said. Who is Turner going to side with next week if Kyle stays? Well, if Kyle stays, that likely means that either Terrence or Turner decided to keep Kyle. And I have no idea. No idea. I mean, when the feeds went down, Turner was, in my opinion, pretty firmly on Kyle's side. But who knows at this point? Let's see. Where is security? They don't have security. They don't have real security. It's also okay. So the problem with preventing the wall yelling with security is that there's basically just like houses, like there's the LA River, and then there's just like a neighborhood of people. Like you can just go anywhere around the LA River. You'd have to have like people patrol, like multiple people patrolling 24/7, and even then, like, what are you gonna do? They need to, if they really wanted to prevent wall yelling, they'd have to do something that actually prevents the sound from getting in. Like, I don't know, put a roof on the thing for if you're gonna keep them outside for a week or something along those lines. Why do I think the veto was used on Turner and not Joseph directly if they plan to save Joseph? I mean, I think that Terrence has always trusted Turner more than Joseph. I mean, I think Terrence wants to ensure that that one of Kyle or Joseph goes home. I think that, okay, I can go into speculation. I can say, okay, maybe he heard Kyle is a liar. Maybe he doesn't trust that Kyle is going to evict Joseph over Turner. And he decides, I'm going to make sure that one of Kyle or Joseph leaves by putting Kyle on the block. And then, at least now one person is going to take, I'm going to take a big shot at one person. Maybe concerned that Kyle and Alyssa might betray him and evict Turner, which doesn't make any sense. So, but who knows? Honestly, who knows? None of it makes any sense. We don't even know what kind of information they think they have in the house at this point. So, who knows? Um, in my opinion, if a wall yeller influences noms, should eviction be canceled? I mean, what can they do? If the information has gotten to a point where it has changed somebody's mind, it's not like canceling the eviction is going to cancel their mind change. But I do think it's a dangerous place for the show to be, and I'm sure that they feel that like if because the thing is, in 20 years, a wall yeller banner plane has never influenced the game to this degree, if this is true. And they still get tons of wall yelling and, you know, all that. If it has actually worked for the first time, it probably opens the floodgates to something that they probably really don't want to deal with, where, like, you know, anybody could yell anything at this point. Like once it's like, okay, this actually works. Hold on, let me get out my trusty, megaphone and yell whatever I want to influence the game in whatever direction I want. And if you have a bunch of people doing that, then things start to get really, really messy with their show. So I have to imagine that they feel like something needs to happen. I mean, there must not be a solution to prevent there has to. I mean, I don't know. Get some scientists on it or something. I don't know. You're in some deep trouble if you don't. Maybe we do. Maybe we do get. I mean, the problem is they love their summer theme, but maybe they just need to like stick a roof on that thing. Moving to a different location would just be absurdly costly. They honestly, like, I don't know. I mean, that might be the end of the show. If they need to move to a different location, that's when they go, is this really worth even continuing? I think sticking a roof on it is a little easier. But this is all speculation. We don't know what any of it means. What any of it we'll see. Like, like a glass, like a see-through ceiling. Then you could still get some sunlight. It's, you know, I don't know. Maybe that would be. I mean, that's probably really expensive too. But what are you gonna do? Anyway. That's about what we've got. I would say again, this is not an endorsement of wall yelling or spoilers. Just speculation here. Again, still be skeptical of any quote unquote spoilers you see, especially if they are not verifiably true at some point in time. So like speculation about like, oh, this is being said in the diary room. Like if you never see it in the diary room, this random person could be making this up. So only believe things that are verifiable. And that's about it. Of course, we're going to have a roundtable tonight. Should be an interesting one given the rumors. So make sure you tune in. Anyway, it'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're gonna rate the players. I'm gonna release a survey where you can rate the players. It should be an interesting experience. And yeah, that's what we've got tonight. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 24 live feeds. I'm assuming at this point that we are just straight up not going to get feeds outside at all this week. So we are entirely at the mercy of the editors in terms of what's actually happening out there. And I very much doubt we get anywhere near the real truth about what's happening outside. So that's annoying. But that's what we've got. Again, make sure you check out the survey link. I'll post it out on Twitter at Armstrong Taran once this podcast ends. And then, of course, you can find me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. I also talked about House of the Dragon yesterday. the House of the Dragon Book Club podcast over on Post Show Recaps, the sort of sister network to Rob as a Podcast. I talked with Josh and Rich about House of the Dragon. Game of Thrones is back, and it's good. It's really good. It's like Game of Thrones back in its heyday. It's probably going to hurt us again. But until then, it's going to be real good. It's going to be real sweet. So check out the Book Club podcast. You don't need to have read the books to listen to the podcast up until a point. So how we structured the podcast is in the first portion of the podcast, sort of like a Big Brother podcast, a recap at least. We talked about the episode from a book reader's perspective without future spoilers. So there will be additional context, just like if you listen to like a Big Brother recap. We're going to give you extra context from what we saw on the feeds, but we'll not spoil things that are happening in the future on Big Brother. Same sort of deal with the Book Club podcast, where in the first part, we're mostly just giving our reactions to the episodes based on our book reader perspective. So there will be additional like extra context and information that you get there. If you're okay with that, then you're perfectly fine to listen to that podcast up until the point where Josh says, all right, spoiler time. And then we talk about future events and character fates and all of that. That's basically what's going on there. That's going to be all season long. House of the Dragon. It was very good, and a lot of people watched it. So we might be on for a wild ride here with House of the Dragon, but check it out. So that's what we have for you today. Again, at Armstrong Taran over on Twitter. I'll be tweeting out all of the things I do, including this, of course, post-show recaps podcast. So make sure you check that out. And I'll tweet out the survey for tonight. And tomorrow night, we'll have an episode and recap it and all of that good stuff. So thank you all so much for joining me here today. And I will see all of you next time.